Hi everyone, welcome to day 2 of hashtag 10 tips, 10 days, where we are focusing on how to supercharge your inner drive. So this is all about finding that passion and fueling it. What's that fire inside of you that's going to make you perform at your optimal level? So today we're going to be focusing on a tip that I call finding your North Star. Have you ever found yourself in a situation like this where you're in a high stakes negotiation in a business and you really want to get the best deal possible, and maybe you might be operating out of a little bit of fear? Might you have walked away going, you know what, I might not have gotten the best deal that I could, or I wish I hadn't compromised on this? Many of us in business have experienced those circumstances and learned from it to be able to perform better next time. Well, here's the thing. We are wired as human beings to be able to serve others. You know, one of our core business or core human needs is to really feel like we matter. You know, that we've been seen, we've been heard, and that we matter. When does that happen? When we serve other people, when we feel like we belong in a community, when we deliver some value in some way. So it's natural for us to want to please other people. And in fact, when we work in alignment with our values, that is often when we can step into our power, really own our power, and give the best of ourselves to the world. But quite often, that alignment of where you step into your power and you hold your own and give your best to somebody else, sometimes it's incongruent and doesn't work the same way. So I found myself in circumstances before in business where someone might say, can you give me a deal? I don't have the right budget for this, or they might give us different reasons why they can't work with us. I found myself sometimes giving in some way and then later regretting it and saying, wow, I don't feel like I really won here. This didn't feel like a win-win situation. I felt like I've lost out on something. But experience has taught me something, and I wanted to share this little hack with you. And that is that if we want to really step into our power when we're negotiating, and we want to really give our best but make sure we're not compromising, we have to find our North Star, which means that if I ask you, for example, who do you work for? You're not actually working necessarily just for the company that you're employed by, or even for your own company if you're an entrepreneur. You're usually working for your family and your loved ones. You're working for a cause that you feel really passionate about. You might be working so that you can give your kids a better future. You might be working so that you and your partner can have a better life in some way. There's often a deeper intrinsic reason why we work. If you can find and identify that North Star for you in terms of the fact that I'm going to go to this particular place where there's no compromise, and you keep that person, people, or that cause in front of you as you're walking into a negotiation, suddenly you can step into your power a lot more easily. You know, I, for example, consider my kids as my North Star. When I started my own business after I had my kids, when I walk into a negotiation in some way and somebody asks me to do something that doesn't quite feel right, I'll ask myself the question, if I compromise in this situation, am I going to give my kids a better future? And the things that I'm doing in work and the accomplishments that I'm trying to get in terms of trying to set an example for my kids, am I living up to those standards to be able to really do that for my kids? And if the answer is no, then usually my answer in that negotiation is also no. If I know that what I'm doing is going to be for the betterment of my kids, their future, if I can set a better example for them, and my answer is yes, then unequivocally I'm going to say yes to those deals. But I use my kids as my North Star in the sense of really understanding where my perimeters and where my boundaries are in business, and what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. So think about it like this. If you happen to be a parent, for example, and you're in a business situation where somebody is asking you to do something at a much more reduced value than you would feel comfortable doing, if you thought to yourself, this client is going to now come in and take money out of my children's bank account in order to run their business, would you say yes to them and say, sure, go ahead and take that money out of my children's account? Probably not. And chances are you would have no problem holding your power in those situations and not making the compromise that doesn't work for you. Similarly, if you have a really strong connection to a particular cause, and you know that everything you're doing really contributes to that cause, if somebody came in and told you to just redirect to something different and benefit something that really was opposing the cause that you feel passionate about, would you do that? No. So when you hold your North Star as your compass and you decide that that's what I'm going to be looking at as the perimeter, then it becomes very easy to say yes to the things that matter to you most, that's going to contribute to why you're working for something, or no to the things that won't serve you in your purpose. So at the end of the day, we are all wired to be able to serve, but the best way that we can serve is when we are stepping into our power, when we're working at our fullest potential and doing the things that matter most. Yesterday we had talked about time and the fact that we all have a finite amount of time that we can utilize in our world. And so it's so important for us to pick and choose the things we focus our time on based on our priorities. Well, when you have that North Star identified for yourself and you use that as your compass to guide you in your priorities, you're going to know that you're going to be making decisions based on values that are aligned to you, based on principles that feel good to you. And when you step aside and say no to something that doesn't work for you, it's actually going to feel good inside. And in this way, you'll be able to serve people in your power in the best way possible. And that's when you can give the greatest gift you have to give out into this world. All right, that's tip number 2. Stay tuned for tomorrow. And if you want to follow these 10 tips, just follow the hashtag 10 tips 10 days and hashtag the art of lifing, and you're going to find these tips. Thank you so much for joining. Participate in this campaign if you'd like to. I'd love to hear your comments as well, and we'll see you tomorrow.